And welcome to episode number 098 of Something Else. Feast your ear holes on this week's episode as we take a look at both Mid South Wrestling and World Class Championship Wrestling from 41 years ago today, June 18th, 1983. My name is Arya, and joining me, as always, is the Reeser Bowden to my Boyd Pierce and Bill Watts, Trae. Trey, how you doing
So,
today?
so now you're Boyd Pierce and Bill Watts?
We've gone over this now for weeks. You said that you're Reeser and I'm Boyd and Bill.
Okay, okay. Can I also be Ted DiBiase during a George Weingroff match?
I was gonna say you're gonna be sucking George Weingroff's dick on this show.
You don't know what it tastes like.
Admittedly, I do not know what George Weingroff's dick tastes like. And in case you're curious, I will not be putting in part of the description for this week's show discussion on what George Weingroff's dick tastes like.
Oh, oh, if I was in charge, I would name this episode "What Does George Weingroff's Dick Taste Like?" But that's why you're the boss and I'm this.
It makes you wonder if we'd get more listeners if that was the title of the show. I may have to do that, just,
Yeah, this
Anyway,
is
um,
if you. I don't know if your podcast had any credibility before I came along, but I'm gonna make sure that it's got none.
if we had any, it is gone by now. Um, but hey, we're at episode 98. Tomorrow, the debut of Total Nonstop Aria is episode 99, which means that yes, next Tuesday it is episode number 100, episode number 100, where Trey and I are going to watch the world class greatest international Star Wars show. Are you ready
It's
for that one?
exciting.
Yes.
So excited.
Yes. And the hilarious thing is, we are talking about what's, in theory, the go home show to the greatest international Star Wars that happens the
Oh,
day after the show. The show happens June
yeah.
17th.
Oh, was it? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like they were plugging the matches. Well, some of them. And we'll get to that. Okay. I'm just going to say it out front. I was absurdly behind on time this week. I've had a crazy ass fucking week. Um, and so I literally finished World Class about 6 minutes ago in real life time. And to get to that, I had to fast forward through a few things. But the one thing I did not notice them ever mentioning, and we'll get to this later, did they ever say that Kevin Von Erich is wrestling Harley Race?
No, they did not.
Did they even mention, and again, they could have mentioned it when I was just trying to move past the slow parts. Did they even mention he was challenging for the world title?
Maybe, I don't think so, because the closing promo was with the Freebirds.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I don't know.
that
I don't
is
think so.
that is tremendous. It's
Well, I mean, they weren't going to sell any more tickets.
it would have been difficult to sell tickets for the show the day before.
Yeah.
I think part of it is that I don't want to say backstab, but they were betrayed a little bit by the world title change. And it's like they spent all this time putting in this storyline with Kevin and Flair that it's like they could not even attempt to plug another match. And since it wasn't going to be Flair, they just stopped plugging it entirely.
Yeah, well, this was taped. Wait, hold on.
I think it was
When
taped
was
the
this
end of
taped?
May.
This, according to what I was able to find, was taped on June 10th, which was actually the day of the Harley Flair title change.
Okay, but I mean, even so, and I went ahead and muted myself. Even so, they could have, you know, mentioned it. Yeah,
Sure, I suppose.
yeah. So before we dive too far into world class, let's talk about some mid south. And this is one of those weeks where I'm like, these two shows like were combining to put on some of the most preposterous shit we've ever seen.
It's true. Wrestling was always silly. No matter what some people will insist, wrestling has always been intrinsically silly on some level.
Indeed, it was, and I we'll talk about it later. But I bet you were happy. We we
Okay.
finally we finally got our update about Mill.
Oh yeah, good for me.
Yeah. But before we get into all that, we can't talk about the end of the show till we talk about the beginning of the show. As I keep clearing my throat 15 or 16 or 17 times here in the first 5 minutes. Well,
We
let's go.
can't Tarantino it and do the end first.
I was afraid to ask where you were going when you said, "Can we Tarantino it?"
Okay, here we're gonna do this because here's what I have about the last segment. We're back at the announce table with Boyd Pierce and Buddy Nickel or whatever the hell his name is. Boyd claims that Mil Mascaras will actually be here next week, and we also get a tease of Chavo Guerrero. Now, how did we get here?
How do we get to Mill and Chavo? I mean, to be fair, Chavo's been here for a while, but the the problem is, you know, like what the fuck is wrong with Matchmaker Grizzly Smith? We could not even have a fucking expiration of time match, so we had to listen to fucking Buddy Nichols just go on and 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 on.
To be fair,
Mhm.
that would not crack the top 10 things wrong with Matchmaker Grizzly Smith.
No, no, it wouldn't. But you know,
We
for
gotta, we gotta, we gotta do Dark Side of the Ring someday.
I don't know if we even need to watch it. We can just discuss the.
Grizzly Smith was a notorious pedophile, people, if you didn't know that.
In case you come to us for breaking news, yes, Grizzly Smith.
From from 40 years ago, stuff that was common knowledge in the wrestling business 40 years ago.
Oh God. So are we gonna go the entire show backwards, or are we gonna like now that we've done the last segment, go to the first segment?
I don't know. And my head is kind of like I watched a lot of WCW from like this same kind of month period.
No, you
Or
didn't.
the no, I watched WCW from the same period that we're doing Smoky Mountain.
There you go.
And and Grizzly Smith is also there as like an on-screen character, like he shows up every couple of weeks. And it was just in my brain wrong. I had to get it out.
Holy crap! I just started bleeding buckets. Like an absurd amount of blood has just cascaded from me, like more than you would think could fit into my body.
Is it falling from the ceiling?
Yes, it has
Step
exploded. Mhm.
step 2 feet to the side.
I don't need to because I figure Vince Russo is booking my Tarantino movie over here.
Oh God. Russo, oh God. Oh, that uh it makes me want to vomit.
Yeah.
But like mentally.
Yes.
Makes my brain want to vomit.
Now, Trey, since we're going all Tarantino, I demand that you shake my hand, or else we will kill each other and everybody else in this room except one guy who will ride off into the sunset.
Oh. Uh, yeah.
I
Sorry,
was
that's okay,
Django
that's the
Unchained.
diner scene. Okay, I
Oh,
haven't seen Django Unchained.
oh, spoiler alert.
No, okay, I was just talking to somebody about this recently. Because yeah, but a friend of mine who was also like we didn't know that like the other was like a Tarantino fan, so we started hashing it over. And well, yeah, like I saw what did I see? I saw Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction back in the day. I was a big fan of those. I was a fan of the Kill Bills. I feel like there's one I'm forgetting. I never saw Jackie Brown. Inglorious Bastards. Inglorious Bastards used to be like one of my favorite movies. But yeah,
Yeah.
I have never got around to watching Django.
I liked Inglorious Bastards, Pulp Fiction. You know, Tarantino's done a lot of good shit. Spoiler alert, for everybody.
I
Um,
showed my wife Pulp Fiction. She hated it.
why? Was she expecting a 30-minute movie about friends eating cheeseburgers while talking about the Bible?
It's that one scene was nah, man, I'm pretty fucking far from okay.
And that's why
One of the
she hated it.
greatest. That is one of the greatest exchanges in the history of film, right? You okay? Nah, man, I'm pretty fucking far from okay.
She was not a fan of what's his name getting gang raped and then
No,
murdering
no,
everybody.
she was not a fan of the gratuitous rape scene. Boy, we haven't even started Mid South yet, and we're
Um,
already talking about
I
yeah.
I thought we did. We talked about the final segment.
Oh, we did. We talked about the last segment, and then
uh,
we went on. This is very promising. We've gone off on wild tangents that relate. We started somewhere, and then we went off on a tangent, and then now we're going to go back and pick up an unrelated story,
oh, actually,
and
I just figured.
eventually, they'll all come together.
See, I just figured we'd keep uh talking about this Mid South show backwards. Why the hell not? Since I already queued it up, let's go to the previous segment, which is going to be okay. We're going to get the update on Mil Mascaris that we already told you, but the key to playing this is I am going to recreate the exact noise I made when watching this segment yesterday and it playing. So let's go now to uh, Boyd Pierce and Buddy Nichols from KALB TV, who, yeah, we'll get to when he actually comes on to the show because I wasn't lying when I said Bill Watts was starting the show. But let's go to that now.
Fans, many of you have been asking about the Herald of Mil Mascaris. Now, Mil Mascaris will be with us here on Mid-South Wrestling next week. And all of you know Mil Mascaris, as I know, is probably the most Herald International known Mexican star in professional wrestling today. Also, to millions in his native Mexico, his country, he's a cinema idol, as he has been for many years. And we're looking forward to him being here on Mid-South Wrestling next week. However, right now, we're going to show you an important match. Mil Mascaris versus the Black Ninja, Kendo Nagasaki,
No!
that was held in Houston, Texas, at the Sam Houston Coliseum on May the 13th, narrated by the man
Oh!
for 35 years behind the mic in Houston, Texas, wrestling, Mr. Paul Bosch. Let's watch it right now.
Come on!
It's so funny because I had already noted that so earlier there's gonna be a JYD music video, and it's mostly him wrestling the Black Ninja, and I'm like, is this just a rib on Arya? And then he's wrestling the fucking Black Ninja.
Like, motherfucker! We were home free! We were fucking home free! No more Black Ninja!
Well, it's let's see. I think it was the same Houston card as the DiBiase match they showed us last week. So this was May 13th.
Yeah, that's my brother's birthday, 2 years before he was born, or 3 years before he was born. So it's his fucking fault.
God damn it.
Damn you, Brian. So Trey's favorite, Mil Mascaris, will allegedly be here next week. We've heard that before.
I don't even like Mil Mascaris. Like, let's not this. I don't want this to become a narrative. I just wanted to know where he was.
Tell us more about your love of Mil Mascaras.
Uh, no.
Thanks. I was doing that so I could take a drink, and you're like, no. I'm like, thanks. All right.
You kinda,
So, Mil Mascaras versus the fucking Black Ninja Kendo Nagasaki with Paul Bosch on commentary. This could not have been like worse if they tried. I don't mean like the match. The match was fine. Like, it is what it is. And the the fucking match, like I get they just took this match from Houston and dropped it in. But motherfucker, like, did you have to leave in the plugs for all the Houston ticket sales? Did you know that the Houston ticket office is open from Monday through Thursday? And then they have lots of tickets available because it's a big building that is obviously not selling because they book matches like Mil Mascaras versus the Black Ninja Kendo Nagasaki.
maybe I'll go down there and see if it's still open.
There you go. By the way, Houston is technically part of the Mid South Territory now. It is, but it's not that kind of thing. But we're supposed to be under the impression that they follow all of Mid South's rules. Well, one of Mid South's rules is no jumping off the top rope, and Mil Mascaras' finish is a dive off the top rope with a crossbody.
They'll
Bosch,
always get special treatment.
oh, you just wait. Whenever this Mil Mascaras match actually airs, whether it's next week or the week after, there is some complete and total bullshit involved. Like I
You want to
haven't,
hear the?
Mhm.
Go ahead, finish.
I haven't even watched it in years, but I remember this plain as fucking day.
You want to hear that Houston card?
Oh, I bet whatever card you're gonna say. I'm sure this like drew 15,000 people.
You know, that's the kind of thing that most people keep track of, and it's the thing that I have the least interest in.
See, mine is the ratings. Like, I don't know why Dave spends 4 pages in the fucking Observer talking about ratings.
I skip all that shit, and I always have.
I skip that, the MMA stuff, the
Yes,
like.
I read the lead stories, and then like the promotion news areas.
I basically read the non MMA, the pro wrestling lead stories, New Japan here and there. If they do a TNA section, the AEW section, and the WWE section.
Well, I enjoy a here or there or an other Japan.
I don't know. Like anytime I ever try to read like other Japan, it's like shit that's like I don't give a fuck about. So it's like whatever.
I may be the much bigger Japanese wrestling nerd of the two of us.
You watched the entire BOSJ. I mean, I
I
assume
did.
we didn't finish talking about that, but I assumed you watched the entire Best of the Super Juniors.
I did indeed.
Okay.
Well, we're
So
recording we're recording really late tonight because a bunch of stuff happened. And so we're recording really late on a Saturday night. New Japan has a show starting in about 10 minutes, so I may have it on in the background at some point.
we may get live updates here on the show that drops on Tuesday on a fucking late Saturday night here. What is
That's why
what's the card tonight anyway?
the main event is El Desperado against Show for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title in a steel cage match, which is they built like Show fucked Desperado out of the title in like February. So kind of gets to have justice finally after finally winning the Best of Super Junior. Semi-main, David Finlay versus Sonata for the global heavyweight title. Never openweight title, Shingo Takagi versus Hinare. They fought to a double knockout at Dominion last week. IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles. Clark Connors and Drilla Maloney versus Robbie Eagles and Kosei Fujita. I would think that's going to be one to watch. Never openweight 6-man titles. The new champions Yota Tsuji, Hiromu Takahashi, and Bushi defend against the team that they took the titles from at Dominion. Hiroshi Tanahashi, Toru Yano, and Oleg Boltin. Tetsuya Naito and Titan against Yuya Uemura and Taka Michinoku. Shota Umino, Hiroki Goto, Yoshihashi against the House of Torture. Evil, Yujiro, and Dick Togo. Taichi and Doki against Ren Narita and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Oh, that's just to troll me, isn't it? 2 fucking House of Torture matches in a row. The opener.
Both
the
Taka
opener
and
is,
Dick Togo are wrestling on this show.
They are.
Okay, then.
Opener is Satoshi Kojima, Tomohiro Ishii, Tomoaki Honma, Shoma Kato, and Katsuya Murashima against TJP, Jeff Cobb, Great O'Khan, Francesco Cura, and Callum Newman. And then the pre-show match is going to be the debuts of 2 brand new young lions, Masatora Yasuda and Daiki Nagai.
I can't wait for that match to go to the time limit draw.
Starting at the Hokai Kidayel, the Hokkaido Professional Sports Center up in Sapporo shortly.
So
it's probably a better card than this Houston card.
By the way, what was the card for this Houston show?
Oh, okay. The Super Destroyer beat Tim Horner.
Oh darn!
King Kong Bundy beat Tony Zane. Grand Marcus beat Art Cruz. Hacksaw Duggan beat Johnny Rich. Charlie Cook beat Ted DiBiase by DQ. That was a match they showed on TV a week or 2 ago. Mil Mascaras beat Kendo Nagasaki. Mr. Olympia beat Mr. Wrestling 2. And the Junkyard Dog beat Kamala in a cage match.
Yeah, by the way, spoiler, since we didn't actually say that Mill won with a crossbody off the top rope, Mill won with the crossbody off the top rope.
Indeed he did.
Wow. And I really fucked up the typing out of that comment. So, by the way, while we're kind of on the subject of New Japan, I don't know if they put it up on New Japan World, but did you see the results of their Mystery Vortex show?
Yeah, I watched that show.
Was that as preposterous as it came across to me reading the results?
Okay, here's the thing. It's a lot of it is up to taste. And for me, like, I thought everything was just weird and cool until the main event, which was just stupid.
I don't even remember what was the main event.
It was Gato and Dick Togo against El Desperado and Danshuko Dino.
Okay.
What were you referring to that was confusing?
Not confusion, just all the intergender stuff. At the
well, it was just so the pre-show match, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Toru Yano, and Joshi legend Kyoko Inoue teamed against Yuko Miyamoto, Asami Kodaka, and Dash Chisako, who's another woman wrestler. So the deal with that is that when Tanahashi and Yano do their tag team, usually for World Tag League every year, they're called Bebop Tag Team because there was this manga series called Bebop something or other that the main characters were named Hiroshi and Toru.
Okay.
And then so the other character from that manga was Kyoko. So it was Hiroshi and Toru teaming with Kyoko. And then the other one was seems like Desperado said that like everybody on the show was someone that he had like wanted to wrestle at some point. And then so the opening match was Dragon Kid and Starlight Kid against El Desperado and Mima Shimoda.
Yeah, in my opinion, this is another one of those things that it's like I don't want to say the death knell of New Japan because they're not dying or anything, but the reasons why I don't watch New Japan anymore. It's like it's just it's gone away from everything that I loved about New Japan, about what made New Japan different than, WWE and even AEW, and it's like it's just now it's like it's just fucking cartoony. And I never watched New Japan, to laugh. I watched New Japan because, I wanted to watch some fucking hard hitting, strong style wrestling that, is not seen anywhere else in the world, no matter how much anyone tries to mimic it. And
Yeah,
instead,
definitely understand what you mean. The show we're talking to is like I wouldn't really I wouldn't really view this as like a regular New Japan show. It was pretty much a like an El Desperado theater type show that Desperado booked, and it was like it was a novelty.
but it's like that's fine, but then remove the New Japan branding from it. It's like when I complained when they did the Dynamite on the Chris Jericho cruise. It's like the Jericho's the number one heel at the time, so why should any baby face in the company want to go on the Chris Jericho cruise? Like it could be one of those things where it's like, okay, we as fans know, wink, wink, it's the Chris Jericho cruise, but they could have had the show without actually saying that it's the Chris Jericho cruise. Because again, why would you have your top heel host the weekly wrestling show on his boat? And
Why
that's
does
mhm.
why does Chris Jericho do most of what Chris Jericho does?
Okay, fine, but that's like Jericho's not the guy writing the checks. It's like, but that's what I'm saying. It's like New Japan could have just not given their branding to the show, even though wink, wink, it's a New Japan show. But by not putting the
I
branding in,
mean,
you have uh
that's kind of what they did. Like there weren't any New Japan logos. They even had like distinct graphics. They had a different like ring skirt and apron and everything.
I was under the impression that it was a New Japan show where we just had, you know, it was New Year's Dash taken to an absurd degree, and New Year's Dash is always a fantastic concept. And so, part of me, I thought it would be something similar to that. But when I read the results, I'm like, thank God I fucking forgot about this show.
It's El Desperado, man. He's a weird dude.
By the way, this is all my fault. You know, we could have been talking about Magnum TA versus Rip Rogers like 15 minutes ago, and
It was here's my review. It was another Rip Rogers squash.
TA wins with the atomic knee drop, not the belly to belly suplex.
Weird.
Okay, you want to talk about weird? Tag team champions Mr. Olympia and Boris Zherkov with General Skandor Akbar versus Art Cruz and motherfucking George Weingroff.
And we do not know what his penis tastes like.
We do not. And there is nothing wrong with motherfucking George Weingroff. Just when he was here a few weeks ago, he was the only person Ted DiBiase had anything to say about. And motherfucking Buddy Nichols from KALB TV is here. God damn it. See, it doesn't quite mesh well when we're doing this in reverse because, you'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Of course, Buddy Nichols is here. You've been talking about it for 30 minutes. It's in the flow of the show. Buddy Nichols appeared out of nowhere for this tag team match and the rest of the show.
Ariel, what if Buddy Nickel and Ted DiBiase had been on commentary together for a George Weingroff match?
they would have just been talking all over each other. Because Buddy Nichols doesn't shut up, and Ted DiBiase only has something to say about George Weingroff.
I have a practical question.
Okay.
How do you load a boot so that it makes a drop kick more devastating?
I have a practical question about that entire finish. That's the part that you found unbelievable?
I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't paying like super close attention because here's the thing. It's fucking Mr. Olympia and Boris Zherkov against Art Cruz and George Weingroff.
By the way, Buddy says if Cruz and Weingroff win, then we'll get a tag team title match. You know who beat the champs that aren't getting a tag team title match? Jim Duggan and John E. Rich, who beat them last week and is being ignored.
There was no follow-up to Johnny Rich's like career-defining victory, was there?
No. Was he wasn't on the show, was he? Or was he in one of the openers?
No, I'm not.
No,
I don't think he was on the show.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't on the openers. He wasn't even mentioned. When they do the replays of last week's show, they do not talk about John E. Rich. And yes, me saying his name for the 3 people who watch TNA out there is a nod of the hat to John E. Bravo. But
John E. Bravo.
Yes, I love Bravo and Rosemary. That was the greatest romance ever. By the way,
very, very unfamiliar with that period of TNA.
oh my God, it was amazing. The summer of 2020 during the pandemic, when I'm clinically depressed and the only thing I look forward to in my life was watching these Wrestle House skits with Rosemary and Bravo. And I know how sad that sounds. I'm aware of this. But when you're fucking clinically depressed and suicidal, you find something to latch on to, look forward to. And that was my thing.
I just stayed stoned the whole time.
I was busy fighting for my life at that point.
We have those moments. Things happen.
By the way, did you I know you said you weren't paying that close attention, but did you notice that motherfucking Buddy Nichols said that Kent tagged in at one point?
Oh, why?
Now you might be wondering who the fuck Kent is, because I sure as hell did. Because the match is again between Mr. Olympia and Boris Zherkov with General Skandor Akbar versus Art Cruz and motherfucking George Weingroff. None of these men are named Kent.
No, because I've been watching the 1993 WCW Saturday nights, and the Cole twins are getting a push right now, and they're Keith and Kent Cole. So when you said Kent, my mind jumped to the fucking Cole twins.
He was also calling both men Art Cruz at one point. I mean, one of them was definitely Art Cruz, but both of them weren't.
The one with the tastier penis was, well,
the one with the tastier penis was George Weingroff, I think.
We don't know what Art Cruz penis tastes like either. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Oh God, this show! I said I don't know if we said this on the air, but they said this show would be the biggest train wreck ever, and it is living up to the hype. Boris hit a horribly mistimed rude awakening, but it was the real Art Cruz's fault. And this is when the match just broke down into a total shit show. The finish. And you question the loaded boot drop kick. I think it's a loaded boot enziguri, which makes a little bit more sense, but only slightly more sense. But Cruz picks Boris up for a slam. He has him in the air. He has him turned over and ready to slam him. And Olympia does the loaded boot enziguri to the head, so he drops poor Boris almost on top of his head. And because this is the finish, Boris has to no-sell it, pick himself back up, and make the cover for the win. This match blew donkey dick, and somehow it was not Boris Zherkov's fault. Boris Zherkov was the best worker in this match.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck happened.
And Mr. Olympia is a very competent wrestler. Art Cruz is a very competent jobber. George Weingroff has a very tasty penis.
We're assuming a lot about the flavor.
We're really latching onto a subject sometimes, don't we?
Yeah.
We get our mouth all the way around the subject and just keep going.
George Wine, get him off.
I've stopped taking notes on what else we've talked about because it begins and ends with George Weingroff's penis. If next week I've got to come on here and read a cease and desist letter from George Weingroff, that's why.
George Weingroff, if you're listening to the show, and why wouldn't you be?
I can't imagine why he wouldn't be.
We are fans.
Allegedly.
Whether of your wrestling
Or
or your penis.
Oh my
so
God.
fucking stupid.
This is what happens when we record the show at 12:37 a.m.
You know what else was fucking stupid?
Butch Reed versus Tim Horner.
Butch Reed versus Tim Horner. God damn it. So the promo last week was for Reed to let you know that he is a heel. This match was for Bill Watts to let you know that Butch Reed is now a heel.
Yes. It is time for Horner's push to end officially. He got, I think, 2 wins on TV, and it's now over. Horner is here until September, by the way. He does come back for a one-off in January, but then he's gone until the end of '84, where he returns with a little bit of a push.
Why?
Watts had an unfortunate choice of words when he said that Horner is going to go out here and sing it. I hope he does not do that. Horner missed the punch by 6.5 feet. Reed came back with a back elbow that definitely did not miss by 6.5 feet. And then Reed pinned Horner with a knee on his chest after a press slam. That, in my opinion, whether or not it was a plan for Horner to have his push ended here, and I haven't really looked at the results in the future, so maybe Horner gets pushed to the moon for the next 3 months. However, I think this match was such a weak performance for Horner and such a blow-off that if there was any plans to give Horner a sustained, serious push, they went out the window, and it was like, okay, that was so awful. We have to give you your notice and let you go somewhere else for a year and then come back and we'll try again. Like, I thought it was that bad. And I honestly, I'm not even entirely blaming Horner. Like, I get, like, he went from jobber to guy that got an occasional win. So he's still not, he doesn't know how to be selfish yet. And I know he's wrestling the new top heel in the company, but he's getting a little bit of a push. He needed to do a little bit more for himself, and he was too inexperienced to know what he needed to do here. He looked at himself as an enhancement talent, and that's essentially what he put himself back as here.
Who the fuck would ever have plans for a serious, sustained Tim Horner push?
Thursdays, we talk about Smoky Mountain Wrestling every single Thursday on the Smoky Mountain Rewatch Along Project, featuring Tim Horner.
That wasn't a push, though. That was, well, he is kind of getting. That was more of a, I had to figure this guy in for reasons, and I'm fucking stuck with him, so I got to use him.
I mean, before you came on, he was in a months-long feud with Dirty White Boy over the Smoky Mountain title. When White Boy won the title, his first feud was with Horner.
Yeah. And so apparently Horner and White Boy were like best friends. So they do that feud, and it's Horner apparently doesn't understand the feud is to get White Boy over because they're waiting until they can get Tracy Smothers in from WCW. Fucking Tim Horner thinks he's going to be Smoky Mountain champion.
By the way, on the list of things that you need to go back and see, first of all, Tracy Smothers' debut promo in Smoky Mountain, where he's sitting on the porch and just talking. It is such like an aw shucks promo where it's like you wanted to take him home to let him meet your grandmother when he was done because it was like this is the boy you want to meet your parents, and you know he was just such a genuine, nice, down to earth baby face, and he fucking buries WCW and Cheyenne, Wyoming. There's not.
Fuck
I've never been to
Cheyenne,
Cheyenne. I'm not
Wyoming.
like Tracy Smothers. I've never been to Cheyenne, Wyoming, and I don't think I'm ever going to go there. However, I don't go on TV, even as limited as Smoky Mountain was, especially at the time, and bury Cheyenne, Wyoming either.
You know the best thing that Cheyenne, Wyoming has ever contributed to wrestling?
The Young Pistols.
The being the setting or near the setting, part of the setting for Ready to Rumble.
Really?
Yeah. You remember?
I honestly, I don't think I've ever watched Ready to Rumble, and if I did, I blocked
Oh my
the majority
god.
of it out of my
Oh,
mind.
we gotta fucking do a watch along. Oh, I love that stupid fucking movie.
I want to point out my friend one. I went to the movies the other day to watch Inside Out 2, and I
So
was
did
talking.
I.
Really great movie. I'm sure we'll talk about that before the end of the show. But my
Oh, have an
friend,
update. Have an update.
the
Uh,
Young Lions match
Mas-
went to the time limit draw,
Masatoru Yasuda and Daiki Nagai have wrestled their first professional wrestling match to completion.
and it went to a time limit draw.
Yeah, 10-minute draw.
Wow, I'm shocked I
They're,
got that right.
they will probably do about 30 of those over the next several months.
Are you watching it, or did you just like read the results?
Oh, I have it on. So like I'm running Zoom on my computer, and then I have my iPad, which was actually a anniversary gift from my wonderful wife, a new
Aww.
iPad that I have it on mute next to me.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Yeah, 10 years, and we went to what's it called? Studio Movie Grill. It was one of the movie theaters that like you can order food and they bring it to you and stuff. And that was awesome. Like that took away all the worst parts about the movie theater experience.
Did she not realize if on your wedding night she would have killed you, she'd only have 10 years left? I'm sorry, I shouldn't have
Uh,
said that. I was trying to make a Bobby Heenan joke. I'm sorry. You're good
that's
people.
okay.
I'm sure your wife is good people too. I don't know her. I don't think I've ever talked to her. And now that I brought this segment to a complete halt, what I was going to say here before I wish that Trey's wife killed him was that my friend wants me to watch Up and Wally, which I've never seen, and you want me to watch
Well,
Ready to Rumble.
okay, I have not seen Up and Wally. I'm confident that they are better movies than Ready to Rumble.
We are fairly certain. So we may have to do a bonus show where we watch all three movies and compare and contrast them. Not a watch along per se, but just we watch them and come on and talk about them.
My wife really likes Pixar movies, and it's like I don't seek them out, but then like if there's one that my wife really watches, because she'll get really into a movie and then she'll use it to go to sleep to for like months, so she'll get really into it. So if there's a Pixar movie that she gets really into, I'll end up watching it. And that was how like I actually liked Inside Out, which is one of the first ones she got me to watch. So yeah, that was why she was very excited to go to Inside Out 2 for our anniversary.
I have not watched Inside Out 1, believe it or not. But
You should.
I've heard, but I'll be honest, I fucking loved Inside Out 2. Like, I was legitimately crying from laughter during that fucking movie with fucking.
Here's what we
Mhm.
here's what we should do. Here's what would be a great double feature: Inside Out and Ready to Rumble.
And compare and
Just kill.
contrast them or just sit here and watch them.
I killed the whole fucking podcast with that suggestion.
I once tried to get my brother to watch The Room on our old show, and he chose to watch.
Oh,
He chose, instead of watching The Room, to watch December to Dismember.
that'd be a hard one. Like, I'd rather watch December to Dismember, but
I, I don't
I
know
don't
if I
know.
need new podcast co-hosts or I just need a new brain here because I'd rather watch The Room. Um, so before Butch Reed wrestled Tim Horner, Bill Watts, who by the way was here for the Butch Reed Tim Horner match, Bill Watts recaps the Butch Reed angle from last week, and thankfully
He is
yes,
appalled by Butch Reed's behavior.
it let me fast forward 5 minutes. Thankfully they did not air the entire fucking promo, just like the last 2 minutes of it. And we're going to go to Bill Watts recapping that and also a recent conversation with Junkyard Dog, and then segueing to a new segment, which we will cut off before they play music that'll get me kicked off YouTube.
In talking to the dog when he was so disappointed in what happened and so hurt, he said that's what always keeps our people from getting to the top is that we don't stay together. And I think the blow to his whole inner soul is a tremendous traumatic effect. But I also know the dog, he's a champion, and he won't lay down for anybody. Butch Reed, you've made your bed, now you're going to have to lie in it. Now let's see what everybody thinks of the Junkyard Dog. As Channel 39 in Houston and Ed Worthington put together a piece about the atomic dog, the man we know and love.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana, a legend in professional wrestling. 285 pounds of frustration and toothache. A man who reigns supreme in the square circle. He calls his junkyard the Junkyard Dog. A professional wrestler who has become the kingpin in the Mid-South wrestling. His theme, the Atomic Dog, provides a fitting tribute to this legend.
He is 285 pounds of frustration and toothache. Did I hear that wrong? Trey, I'm going to assume I did not hear that wrong, and you're just in total, complete shock and awe.
I'm sorry. I was muted, and then I started talking, and then my computer very helpfully told me that I was muted. So good on it. What was I talking about? Bill Watts. Oh yeah, I was just baffled at the I was trying to make sense out of the absurdity of Bill Watts waxing poetic about the black experience in America.
Thankfully, we have Bill Watts, who, in case this is somehow your first experience of Bill Watts is lily white. You know,
He's not white, he's white.
he's white. And he is very frustrated that the way that Butch Reed has brought down the image of the black man here in 1983 by turning on Junkyard Dog.
Bill Watts is such a fascinating human being. Like, I feel like I could have a conversation with him for hours, and there would be times that I just wanted to. Never mind. But it would just be utterly fascinating the way that his mind works.
I do note that this video that we didn't play featured way too much Black Ninja Kendo Nagasaki.
Yeah, I love that for you.
But again, 285 pounds of frustration and toothache. Toothache!
It's absurd, and it gets more absurd the more indignant you get about it.
Atomic Dog. Atomic
Was that
Dog.
was that the song?
Yeah. It's like,
What was I thinking?
You're thinking of
Oh,
Snoop
I was thinking
Dogg?
about. No, I was thinking about a different video on the World Class show.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh God. Oh
I'm
my
sorry.
God. That I never regretted anything more in my life that when I didn't have time to go back and watch that 10 fucking times.
I just want to know what the song was originally.
Oh, we'll get to that. Do you know what
Um,
song that WWE put in there?
What was it?
Oh,
Let me think I
oh
recognize.
no. I'll tell you when we get to it.
Okay.
Oh my God. Like, it's, I'm speechless. Like, even thinking
Speaking
about
of things, speaking of things that made us sad,
a winner leaves town match, King Kong Bundy
between
versus Tito Santana.
oh, I have enjoyed Tito's pass through the territory.
Spoiler alert, Tito wins this match here in the winner leaves town match.
With the fucking over the top rope DQ rule.
Yep. I joked last week about this being Saturday night's main event, but in the interest of being 100% perfect and truthful and historical on this show, Tito Santana and King Kong Bundy never had a singles match in the WWF. They had a standard tag, a 6-man tag, and were in a battle royal against each other, and that's it. So yes, King Kong Bundy never.
Tito, during the period that Bundy was active, Tito was kind of too highly ranked to be squashed by Bundy.
And when Bundy made his comeback in '94, El Matador had hung up. Well, he didn't hang up his boots, but he had moved on to greener pastures, like
Oh, did you catch it?
ECW.
Did you catch it during this match that Watts
Yes,
speculated that Tito might have some Matador in him?
yes. Like, who
Tony,
says Vince never watched wrestling from anywhere else?
Bill Watts is a fascinating man.
They did a spot, and I was like, okay, I know where the spot's going. Because it's especially 1983 wrestling. It's simple, it'll pop the crowd. Tito runs the ropes and runs shoulder first in the Bundy, and he bumps. And then, okay. Tito, the babyface, he gets up and he fires up a little bit. He runs off the ropes. He hits Bundy again, and he gets knocked down again. I'm like, okay. So this spot, we've seen this spot before in Mid South. What Tito will do is he'll run off again. He'll hit Bundy, and Bundy will my shoulder a little bit, and then he'll hit the ropes again, hit Bundy again, and Bundy will stumble but stay on his feet, and then he'll run off the ropes. Bundy will try to clothesline him. Tito ducks it, hits off the opposite rope, hit Bundy. Bundy will bump, and the crowd will go ape shit. I wish I could tell you that. But prison is no fairy tale world, and neither is 1983 wrestling. And that did not happen. Bundy uses a backbreaker of all things. I figure a young Roderick Strong watched this match and got a great idea for a gimmick. Anyway, Santana rolls out of the way of the big splash and fires up. Tito uses a single leg takedown of all fucking things and teases the figure 4 but never gets it on. They fuck up the finish. At least I think they fucked up the finish. Let's see what you think. He goes for extra hot pace picante, but Bundy ducks and Tito flings himself into the ropes. Now, I believe this is supposed to be where Bundy's supposed to flip him over the top because he pretty much immediately gets up and goes for the second time, and that's when Bundy backdrops him over the top for the disqualification. And then Bundy lays him out with a pile driver on the floor.
Here's the thing, and I didn't really notice if the finish was messed up or not, and I didn't care because I was mad about it once I saw what it was. But like, why? Okay, so you pile drove him on the floor, and that's all well and good. Why not beat him too? Like, why? Why would you have King Kong Bundy technically lose this match to the guy who's leaving the territory?
Wrestling is airtight, brother. Especially back in the day.
Tito, by the way, Tito has already made a couple of sets of WWF TV tapings, and he's going to start on the road within about a week.
Yeah. Unfortunately, like I said, it's a winner leaves town match, and Tito was gone. You know what?
What do you think was? What do you think was worse? Because of the flying, he went from like the worst driving territory to having to fly every fucking where.
I like flying, but I don't know if I could fly every single fucking day across the country. I think that would drive me up a fucking wall. Um,
Dude, driving in Louisiana sucks now, even when they do have north-south interstates.
I did note, and this is kind of a wacky comparison, but you know what this match kind of reminded me of? You
Hmm.
remember when Rob Van Dam left WWE in 2007 and they were building up Randy Orton to be a top heel and take on Cena at SummerSlam? And so for Rob Van Dam's last night, they booked Orton versus Rob Van Dam and I think a stretcher match because it was the one night stand show. And of course, everybody knows it's Van Dam's last night. And Van Dam, to fool the marks, Vince booked Van Dam to win and then Orton beat his ass and punted him.
Vince was so stupid.
Yeah, and it make shit like that. I know you really need us to tell you this at this point because you know it's Vince. The shit like that makes no fucking sense. It's like you're doing it to fool the marks. Like you're the fucking mark, Vince. Like if you're putting that much overthinking into it, you're the fucking mark. Who cares? It was the opener of the show too. I'm pretty sure. So it's like you're putting that much effort into outfooling the marks in the opening of your show. Like, if you want to fool the marks, that was when Cena had the title for a year. You could have fooled the marks and had fucking Great Khali win the belt from Cena that night. No one would have thought that
As
was
he
going to.
should have.
I just want
I'm
to
still
say,
mad about that.
I thought he was going to win it at Judgment Day because did two pay per views and the Saturday night's main event in a 2 week period, and Cena beat Khali the first time by pin, and actually no submission because Khali had his foot under the ropes, and that's what led to the pinfall match at Extreme Rules or One Night Stand. I thought Khali was going to win the title that night, and like they'd do the rematch and Cena would win it back, but I loved that first year and a half of Khali because, like I mentioned when we talked about the Boogeyman a few weeks ago, I loved wrestling that's different. And in an era where everyone's gimmick was professional wrestler, you had the fucking Great Khali out there who knew three moves: a spin kick, a chop to the head, and a hanging tree slam. And that's all he fucking needed to know. Like, not everybody needs to be able to do every fucking move in the world. Great Khali doing a fucking catch as catch can wrestling match would have fucking sucked. Yeah, it may have sucked watching him do a chop to the head over and over again and whatever the hell else in a spin kick. Hey, the spin kick I think was fucking awesome. He had a fucking great spin kick. But imagine fucking Great Khali chain wrestling Chris Benoit, which I know is a bad comparison, but like that's just who I think of anytime I think of like great chain wrestling around that time. But yeah, and I will fucking defend Monster Khali, and I will also say that that Monster Heel Khali was good for business. Not great. I wouldn't put him in the Observer Hall of Fame, but he popped two buy rates as a Monster Heel. The original match against Undertaker and the first Cena match, because the fucking giant Monster Heel will always draw.
We should review the Monster Mash Battle Royal sometime.
I'm feeling gnarly tonight. Gnarly.
The one that always sticks with me is I think it was the 95 Royal Rumble at the beginning of the show, and Davey Boy's walking in, he looks at the camera and says, "I'm gonna win the Royal Rumble because I'm bizarre."
Yes. Before anybody yells, that was 97. But yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He's like, am I gonna win the Royal Rumble? Yeah, that's right. Because I'm gonna win the Royal Rumble because I'm bizarre. Did he think he
Indeed
was
you
gold
were.
dust? I always like wonder like what is going through people's minds when they come up with this. Like Bret Hart is still alive. Like let's bring him on and ask him what the hell made you randomly start talking about El Dandy? Like, like of all the people in WCW at the time, like I get the point because like Flair was booking him this match, and he didn't think Booker T deserved a title match, and he's a heel, so what's the most absurd opponent he could pick? El Dandy. You know something? I would bet you $10 because that match never happened. I'd bet you $10 that would have been a fucking great match. Bret Hart
or
versus El
or
Dandy.
or Brett versus Hypnosis.
Yeah, let's throw him in there. And it's like,
Oh god, Brett.
I'll be honest, it's like, and I know, like, oh, who am I pointing out, like, how great Mean Gene Okerlund was, but it's like, Mean Gene Okerlund just, like, that face he gives the camera when he says, yeah, let's throw Hypnosis in there. And Gene just kind of turns and looks at the camera like, this motherfucker.
If you like Mean Gene, there is an all-timer Mean Gene movement in Ready to Rumble.
An all-time Mean Gene movement.
Moment.
They said movement. I'm like, did he take a shit?
Oh god, no. Moment, an all-time Mean Gene moment.
Okay. Do you want to tell me, or should we wait until we watch Ready to Rumble?
Save it for you.
Okay. Well, the Mean Gene's bowel movements are going to be in the description of this week's show.
I hope that's not what George Weingroff's dick tastes like.
Oh my god.
This is the worst show ever.
I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that, but maybe George Weingroff and Mean Gene, had a little fucky. And thus George Weingroff's penis would taste like Mean Gene's mouth.
Mr. Wrestling 2 against Denny Alberts.
I broke Trae.
I'm sure Denny Alberts preferred this nice, friendly wrestling match over getting mauled by King Kong Bundy last week. Yeah, I wasn't really sold on 2, but then he's like the perfect old man wrestler. Like he wrestles exactly how you think an old mask guy named Mr. Wrestling 2 would wrestle. And 2 won with the knee lift, and that's all I got. That's all I got.
We've gone 63 minutes.
And that was the opener. That was the opener on Mid-South Wrestling.
By the way, this match went so fucking long. I was thinking about you talking about you're watching WCW Saturday Night from '93 and talking about these long ass squash matches.
This match was only 4:12.
This match allegedly went less than 5 minutes, but I refuse to believe that. It would not end. And Watts puts over the new faces in the referee division during this match, officiated by Joel Armstrong, who we noted is Joel Watts last week. And to end the Mid-South review, let's talk about the beginning of the Mid-South review, because yes, I'm going to play it. The intro with Boyd Pierce and Bill Watts talking about the show that we already talked about.
Fans, welcome to this week's Mid-South Wrestling Television Network. I'm your host, Boyd Pierce, and we'll be headlining this week on an outstanding main event. Tito Santana, the popular star from South Texas, takes on 420-pound King Kong Bundy. The Mid-South Tag Team Champions, Boris Zherkov and Mr. Olympia are here. Also, Mr. Wrestling 2, Tim Horner, Magnum TA. You'll see all the action, and I wanted to tell you about it. A man who needs no introduction. He's second to none in breaking down the fine points of professional wrestling. That's Cowboy Bill Watts. Bill.
Well, thank you, Boyd Pierce. And I just say this, it's been tremendous excitement lately, and of course some things that have happened, some unbelievable things, some things that have left me flabbergasted, and I know you too, and the fans at home. And last week, a man that was hurt to the core, not only physically, but I think mentally, the Junkyard Dog, and we'll see some of that and go into that a little bit further as it progresses. But let's go to Reeser Bowden right now and get the action off with a man that's a legend in his own time, Mr. Wrestling 2.
I could swear when I started watching this ad, he was about to say that 2 was a legend in his own mind. But by the way, would you say now that we've watched the entire show that that was a quality recap of what we're about to see on this week's show?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Now, is this more like a Quentin Tarantino movie, or is this more like that episode of Seinfeld where they did everything in reverse?
I'm not really into Seinfeld.
Wow.
Here's the thing. Seinfeld is very much a time and place show, and I didn't watch it at the time. And anytime I've tried to watch it, I'm just like, this doesn't work now.
It really does, but I mean, a lot of shows are like that. And I know we talked about this on Twitter a few weeks ago, but Family Matters. It's like there was an episode I watched somewhat recently, and the premise of Family Matters, for those who like know what it is but never really watched it, Urkel. He has a crush on Laura Winslow. Laura Winslow does not like him back until inexplicably, when the show moves to CBS from ABC, suddenly Laura's like, you know what? You're not half as annoying as you usually are, so I love you. And they end up in a relationship, which causes the show to jump the fucking shark because Laura was also in a relationship with Stefan Urkel, who is Urkel, who cloned himself and then used his body changing machine to change the clone into his cooler alter ego Stefan.
My favorite episodes of the show were the ones where Steve turned into Bruce Lee.
But oh yeah, by the way, the whole point of this and the reason why I had to uh, preface this, there was an episode, and it was an episode where Laura was, I think she was studying for a test, and the point, and she wasn't going to sleep at night. She was staying up all night studying and studying and studying, and of course she ended up failing the test because she, didn't sleep at all. So the climax of the episode, the part where you were supposed to laugh, not only like I don't know if they had an actual home or a live studio audience or just inserted a laugh track, but the end of the episode, Laura has fallen asleep at the kitchen table. She has her head down in her arms and she is asleep. Urkel comes in, sees this girl that he has a thing for passed out at the table, and he announces to the world that he is going to go kiss her against her will while she is sleeping. And then the comedy is that as he's inches from her face, somehow, even though she's asleep, she somehow knows that he's about to kiss her and tells him to knock it off. And of course, it's the comedy because, oh, well, she stopped him from kissing her and he's such a good guy, and, cue the laugh track and cue Steve getting that, oh, darn, I wasn't able to take advantage of my friend who's asleep.
I really liked that show at the time, and then it's one of those things that in retrospect is just the creepiest fucking thing. Like the 90s do not hold up at all.
And fucking the show, then I can understand why she was frustrated. But the show was supposed to be built around Harriet. And they very quickly realized that a show built around Harriet Winslow was going to be canceled in 2 years at most. She was one of the most annoying characters. In fact, she was probably the most annoying character on the show. And like, I could not believe when I heard years later that the show was supposed to be built around her, and that's the reason why she eventually left. Also when they moved to CBS was because she was so mad that she was supposed to be the main character and got replaced by Urkel.
Yeah, because she was the elevator operator on, was it Perfect Strangers? One of those other shows.
I don't.
And this was like this was a spinoff. And
Yeah.
then Urkel ended up being, by like the second season, ended up being the breakout character. My family was a TGIF family in the 90s.
Oh yeah,
So
like don't get me wrong. Family Matters, Boy Meets World, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, and Step by Step. That was my Friday nights.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then Clueless was great. Sabrina was great. And that's roughly when I stopped watching, was when Family Matters and Step by Step moved to CBS. I was really bitter about that move to CBS, apparently.
Yeah, I still haven't seen the last, I don't know, season or two.
Step by Step, oh my god, the child that they have on Step by Step, she goes from being like a newborn child on the last season on ABC to like a 6-year old, while everybody else has aged 1 year, 3 months, or whatever the appropriate amount of age was. She fucking grew up and was in kindergarten, I think.
I do not remember Step by Step after the move to CBS. I don't even know if I saw it anymore after that.
Yeah. Don't worry, nobody did. The show got canceled pretty damn quickly after that. By the way, the other like one of those Harriet Winslow was the lead of this show moments. One of the early episodes, Harriet loses her job uh as the elevator girl, and so this family, who Carl Winslow is a police officer in the Chicago Police Department, and his mother lives with them, and she's got whatever her retirement and Social Security is. The sister lives with them, and this was before she had a restaurant, but she had whatever job she had. So like they had some money. Like okay, they weren't like raking in the dollars, but it's like it wasn't as dreadful as it was when all of a sudden Harriet loses her job. But the whole point of it is like with Harriet being unemployed, they had to eat turnips every night. Turnips every fucking night because they couldn't afford food. Then Harriet goes for an interview where she's a complete and total asshole to the interviewer, and she celebrates by taking herself to the movies. And then Rachel, the sister, goes out and buys steak because she got the news that Harriet got the job because somehow being a complete and total asshole to your interviewer gets you the job in 1990 or 89 or whatever that first season was. And like that was the part where I'm like, okay, Harriet, the rest of your fucking family is eating fucking turnips and you're treating yourself to the movies because you were an asshole to an interviewer.
I did not know that you had such passionate opinions about Harriet Winslow.
I hated her. Like I hate her almost as much as I hate Joan Cusack. No, okay, okay, rant time about Joan Cusack. Okay, I understand she's an actress. I understand that, everyone has that thing that they're really good at. However, at the end of the day, I still say that Anne Hathaway is like the nicest person ever, and it comes across on TV because every movie I ever see her in, she's the nicest person ever. Every fucking movie Joan Cusack is in, she's a total and complete cunt. And it's like, I refuse to believe that Joan Cusack in real life is not a total and complete cunt. Because it's like, you don't, like, she would have some other role where she's not that. But every fucking movie, she's a total bitch. Everyone. So it's like,
That's
yeah, I believe that she has to be a total bitch in real life.
oh yeah. I had to Google Joan Cusack. I don't remember, like, I remember names and faces, but I don't always remember that they belong to each other.
Yeah. By the way, during my Michelle Trachtenberg obsession back in the mid aughts, I bought Ice Princess, the movie, on DVD, and the heel's mother, either her mother or the heel's mother, was played by fucking Joan Cusack, and she was a total bitch. I think it was Michelle Trachtenberg's mother. I
I know
still
that
have
name.
I
I
still have
know
that
that
movie. I
name.
could go watch it.
She was in Addams Family Values, and she was
Yep.
fucking crazy.
Yep.
You know what? You know what the thing about that, and Addams Family Values is fucking great. But the thing is, if she had just been normal about it, like her need to murder her husband, like the family probably would have just accepted her,
Yeah.
and she could have murdered Festus every day, and he would love her and be devoted to her, and they'd live happily ever after.
And she tried to because there was like uh a skit where like seemed like she was trying to kill him every day, and because like I remember she dropped the toaster into the bathtub or whatever, and like what was left was Fester lighting it up with a light bulb afterwards or some shit, and like yeah, she was.
Every day I'm a getting closer, gonna take a bath with my fucking toaster.
uh, that's funny. I saw Adam's Family Values probably a dozen times before I saw the first Addams Family movie, so it's like I didn't realize the whole story of, you know, Fester being the long lost brother who, you know, was being played by a guy who was trying to get their money from them and all that
Yeah,
shit.
because Fester being Gomez's brother, like that's all from those movies. Like he wasn't Gomez's brother in the like the
TV show.
original Addams Family series.
And that's how we got to this point. But yeah, that's me, all me again.
I'm talking about the Addams Family, and I don't know. We finished Mid South. We haven't started on World Class, and somehow we're on the Addams Family.
We're an hour and 16 minutes in, and
We've talked about nothing. We did Mid South backwards, and it doesn't even matter.
there's a good possibility that anybody listening to this didn't even notice we did Mid South backwards, even though we brought it up multiple times.
I have a comment to make about this World Class show.
Okay, so yeah, let's go. By the way, that Mid South show, since we did it backwards, we didn't finish it up by telling you when it was. It was Mid South Wrestling, June 18th, 1983, from the Irish McNeil Boys Club in Shreveport, Louisiana. And with that, we move one state to the west to the Sportatorium in Dallas, Texas, for World Class Championship Wrestling, also from June 18th, 1983. Please continue.
Uh, I think Mark Lawrence was drunk.
It's possible. I mean, it was a Friday night.
He sounded like I noticed it every time he did ring announcing. He sounded fucking sloshed.
Welcome to World
So
Class Championship Wrestling. Your
I'm
officials
just
tonight are David Manning, Bronco Lubitsch, and somebody else.
all right, motherfuckers. This is gonna be Iceman King Parsons.
Okay,
I'm a little worried. I'm worried that things aren't going well in our friend Mark Lawrence's personal life.
it might. Okay, I'm not even gonna play the intro because the intro is like 30 seconds, and we're 78 minutes into the show and don't need the fucking 30-second intro. It suddenly explains who fucking booked this show because I'm like, okay, this fucking show, somebody had to fucking book it, and suddenly Mark Lawrence being drunk, I can believe drunk Mark Lawrence booked this show.
Oh my god! So the opening match
Who
is
booked this?
Buddy Roberts, and the Mongol against King Parsons and Johnny Mantel. And when I tell you, oh my God, this match went 10 minutes and 35 seconds.
I know I've noted in the past, and I've ranted and raved about how with World Class and Mid South both do a great job of linking your baby faces and heels together. So even though everyone has their own separate storylines, you can do sometimes some random ass matches, and it still fits within the overall company arc and storyline. What fucking circle of hell was Fritz in this week?
So Devastation Inc. and the Freebirds are making common cause of some kind.
And by the way, the Mongol was without General Skandor Akbar in this match.
The Mongol was without a lot of things in this match.
Talent, common sense. They plugged Mhm.
Go ahead.
They plugged the greatest international Star Wars, which, as we noted, was yesterday, and bring up the hair match. Mercer says Iceman is like a catfish slipping away from Buddy. Iceman attacked Buddy with his ass, but it was not that she calls that the rear view. And I assumed that Johnny Mantel was in this match because somebody had to lose. And after way too long, all hell breaks loose. And I was right, as Mongol pinned Mantel with a running power slam.
So Bill Mercer was trying to put over the hair versus hair stipulation
Oh my
between
god,
Roberts and Iceman,
I
and
didn't write this down.
he could not figure out a way to describe Iceman's hair that sounded socially acceptable. So he just gave up and mumbled something about Parsons' quote unquote personalized locks.
After talking about Buddy Roberts' gorgeous blonde locks. And by the way, and yes, they'll bring this up again later. Essentially, the loser of the match is going to have a bucket of Nair poured on his head and have no more hair.
So Buddy had the best hair in this match, and he's the one's about to lose a hair match.
Spoiler alert.
He's also the best wrestler in the match by like a lot. Parsons' hair is absurd. The Mongol just has like this terrible top knot. Johnny Mantel's hair sucks too. Look, this match was very long, and I just had to reach to find shit to say about it.
And then because I couldn't get any enjoyment, and because I'm trying to catch up, I'm trying to like get the show over by midnight so we can fucking review it. They go to Kamala with Friday and General Skandor Akbar versus Mike Reed, and Kamala's already in the ring and they're taking off his accoutrements. And I'm like, fuck, I can't fast forward 5 minutes because they're already taking care of this. And then it still fucking takes almost 3 minutes. Motherfucker.
I love Kamala.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with Kamala, and especially the Kamala squash match like this, because by the way, shockingly, Mike Reed did not beat Kamala.
No.
He wins with a splash. But it's like, yeah, I wanted to fast forward and fucking couldn't because I figured, okay, he's already set for his match, but of course he wasn't.
You know what you could have fast forwarded through and not missed anything at all?
Oh my God. So we come back from commercial, and there is a masked African American man in the ring with General Skandor Akbar.
And what was his name?
And Drunk Mark Lawrence introduces this man, this African American man, as Mr. Ebony.
Mr. Ebony.
Ebony. I think he would have been better off doing a Mr. Kennedy impersonation and just grabbing Mark Lawrence's mic and introducing
That'd be good.
himself.
That'd be good, wouldn't it? Ebony.
Wait for it.
Ebony.
Wait for it. Ebony.
So Mr. Ebony, from what I was able to glean, was a guy named Tom Jones or Bearcat Jones who worked some territories. He had worked a New Japan tour in 1974.
He is former Mid-South jobber, not that Tom Jones under a mask.
And, yeah, that's right.
Yes. Because he's not that Tom Jones. You know.
He's really not that Tom Jones now.
Yes. And then he wins with a full Nelson. Now, okay, again, it's 1983. And I know that moves have to be invented at some point. Was the full Nelson really never invented up to this point? Because Bill Mercer is like, oh my God, this brand new move. And I forget what he says, but I think he said it was a version of the sleeper hold. The full Nelson is nothing like the fucking sleeper hold.
Okay, Tatsumi Fujinami invented the Dragon Suplex in about 77, 78. So I can't imagine that the Dragon Suplex was invented 5 years before the full Nelson. I do not know when the full Nelson was invented, but if I had to guess,
76.
1885.
When Abraham Lincoln was wrestling one of his friends, and so that would have been one of the most 65.
That's like one of the most obvious moves. Like even when little kids that know nothing about any kind of grappling or wrestling each other, one of them will put the other one in a full Nelson.
Okay, I'm not going to bother playing this promo because it's hilarious how much time and effort I took to making timestamps, and I'm not going to use any of them. But Akbar does a promo with Mr. Ebony and Bill Mercer, and they're talking about Akbar's stable. And Akbar's stable is Kamala the Mongol, and Mr. Ebony.
Oh my god, that's like the worst. That's worse than the fucking the Bo Dallas stable that's coming soon.
I was gonna say it's worse than the fucking Natural Born Thrillers.
You know what has been in my, it's like just lived rent free in my head for like, oh god, what year is this? Almost 25 years, 24 years.
The Natural
When
Born
D
Thrillers theme song.
that too, but when DDP called them natural born jacked up monkeys.
Okay.
It's just so stupid. And it's like the way that he delivers the line.
I just for some reason when I think of DDP promos, I just think about him calling out Hollywood scum Hogan every week for like
Yeah.
2 years.
And it's exactly like that. It's that same kind of the way he put that stank on scum was the same way when he called him the jacked up monkeys.
Okay.
So yeah, stables that were better than Devastation Incorporated include the Natural Born Thrillers, the Dungeon of Doom.
How about
This was just
the Parade of Human Oddities?
uh, this was just the most generic heel manager promo.
You know it wasn't generic.
Ugh.
The next segment. And we teased it earlier in the episode. Now, I believe, and I'm sure when I say it, you're like, oh, that makes sense. I believe the real song was Eye of the Tiger. Because at one
You
point, yeah, they freeze frame a weird picture of Kerry Von Erich, and it segues into a picture of a tiger.
yeah.
But it's Peacock. It's the WWE network. They're not going to pay for Eye of the Tiger, even though it could not cost that much money. Like, even though they could afford it, they are not Tony Khan paying $200,000 for Final Countdown, which just blows my fucking mind that that's the real cost of that fucking song.
And that's why Tony Khan is the best wrestling promoter of all time.
I think, like, unfortunately, I love you, Tony. I know that you hate me because you've taken me off the AEW media calls, which believe me, I'm not complaining that much about, even though I bring it up every chance I get. But in my opinion, that is what makes him a money mark. It's like I don't care about the rest of that shit, but when you're paying $200,000, and they've played it at least 3 times, they're not paid. They've now paid Europe $600,000 to play that fucking song.
Isn't it grand?
That is insane.
You know
Yeah.
what? Tony Khan is the only billionaire to ever add anything positive to my life. So
Are you sure? You're telling me that in 40 fucking years, Vince McMahon did absolutely nothing to give you any sort of positivity in your life. Not even the Great Khali. Not even
uh
not even the WWE network that allowed us to lead to this moment when we talked about the taste of George Weingroff's penis. That's
you think
probably
Vince
better than I even
McMahon
talk about that.
what do you think Vince McMahon would have thought about George Weingroff's penis?
Holy hell, man. Look at that thing. It's huge. It must be 7, 8, 10 inches in length and twice as big in diameter.
So Kerry Von Erich.
Who, by the way, is not Kevin Von Erich, the number one contender to the World Heavyweight Championship. WWE. And you did not recognize this song at all.
No.
I would like to believe that whomever made this music choice did not realize what they did. Because that they put in to play in the montage, a training montage of Kerry Von Erich. In fact, it wasn't even really him training. He was riding a motorcycle, he was wrestling the Freebirds, he was having a frozen standstill picture segue into a tiger. The song that they dubbed over Eye of the Tiger was Eugene's theme song.
Oh my god, it was. Oh, I didn't even make that connection until just now. Oh my god.
His first theme song, not like the one he used later on, but this is like the first one when he first debuted in 2004. I'm like, you know that whoever did this did not realize it. They just went through the WWE archive of music and realized, hey, we got a kind of a ripoff of Eye of the Tiger. Let's put that in there without someone noting this was the theme song that we gave our mentally challenged wrestler.
Which is just hilarious on a lot of levels.
And this, by the way, is the same production staff that the Road Warriors in 1980s used Back in Black as a theme song. And when Vince Russo went to WCW in the year 2000, not Back in Black, Iron Man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, ACDC. They used Iron Man. And when Vince Russo went to WCW in the year 2000, he used Iron Man. And the WWE production staff knew enough to put the same generic song in the Road Warriors squash matches on NWA World Championship Wrestling as they did for Vince Russo in the year 2000. However, whomever was in charge of this did not recognize that this was the theme song for their mentally challenged wrestler.
Funny. They probably really are just like filed according to what song they sound like.
Yeah. By the way, when we were talking about Mr. Ebony, I forgot to note Mercer announced that Mr. Ebony was rolling Ron Starr into insensibility.
Indeed, he did.
And also, Akbar said Mr. Ebony has the strength of a cardiac bear.
The cardiac bear.
Yes. I don't think that's what he meant. I think he may have meant Kodiak. But hey, who am I to doubt General Skandor Akbar? But yeah, this training video, oh my God. Even before I immediately realized it was Eugene's theme song, it was like, oh my God, they put this on TV. This thing was fucking tremendous.
Here's the thing about the 80s. Hands down, the gayest fucking decade.
Oh yeah, we haven't gotten things like Scott Hall coming out of the pool in his tight, little trunks dripping wet over his hairy chest with his giant bushy mustache.
And I'm sorry if you can't admit that Kerry Von Erich is a very sexy man, you're just homophobic.
Oh my God, do you remember the NWA Jim Crockett Danger Zone VHS, which came with a calendar, which was 11 pictures of like studly, cheesecake pictures of men like Jimmy Garvin and Michael Hayes, and one picture of Missy Hyatt. Because they could not figure out that wrestling fans might buy a calendar full of Missy Hyatt pictures in 1988.
It's thanks to Missy Hyatt in 2014 that we know Jim Ross fucks like a beast.
Man, I didn't remember that in 2014, but here in 2024, yeah, Jim Ross fucks like a fucking beast. Which is sad that Jim would cheat on his wife in 2014 like that, Jim. Come on.
Did I say 2014?
Yeah.
Oh, I meant 2024.
What do you think about Daniel Bryan's concussion and having to vacate the WWE Championship? Which, if this was 2014, that would be around this time.
Look, if it's 2014, I got a lot of mistakes to unfuck.
Hopefully that doesn't include marrying your wife yesterday.
No, it was just everything else I've done in my life. That was the only smart thing I ever did.
Okay, good. So Brass Knuckles champion Terry Gordy with Michael Hayes in his corner versus Kerry Von Erich with Kevin Von Erich in his corner. The biggest news in this match was that they had an actual title belt for the Brass Knucks title, and it wasn't just the same fucking belt they used for everything else.
I noticed.
And by the way, it's a fucking Brass Knuckles title. Why isn't the championship belt just a pair of brass knuckles?
Oh, that'd be so cool. It was kind of
So,
like the DDT Iron Man title. That is just it's like a big plate with kind of a set of brass knuckles on it.
mm-hmm. I just thought you meant about the preposterosity of the DDT open metal weights, whatever the hell the name of it is. By the way, it's been an hour. What the hell else has happened on this New Japan show?
So the 11:30 at my time was the Young Lions match that went 10 minutes, and then the show started at the top of the hour. Um, the United Empire team, TJP, Jeff Cobb, Great O'Connor, Francesco Cura, Callum Newman beat Tomohiro Ishii, Satoshi Kojima, Tomoaki Honma, Sho Makedo, Katsuya Murashima. And then here, just a moment ago, Taichi and Doki beat Ren Narita and Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Doki pinned Kanemaru with the Skida special.
Breaking news here on Tuesday night. Or Tuesday morning, I guess. But by the way, in case you're curious what the Brass Knucks title is and what the rules are, it's a no disqualification match. They're all no disqualification matches. Now, however, by
And
and large,
the very first thing that Gordy did was throw Kerry over the top rope.
yeah, that was pretty much the only thing that really they did that was DQ worthy. Because everything else, like you would not have known this was a no DQ match by any other stretch of the imagination. Um, you know, if this was 2024, it would mean immediate uses of plunder. And of course, when I say that, it's not just a 2024 thing. It's been going on since at least 1998, where hardcore match means immediately run out under the ring and grab some stuff. Um, so Kerry sold amazingly well for Gordy. Now, I am not, monitoring their drug testing here in 1983, so I don't know how fucked up either man was, if any. But if they were, you'd have no fucking idea. Gordy flips ass over tea kettle for a discus punch. I mean, technically he tried to flip all the way over, but couldn't quite do it, but I'm still counting it. Gordy gets a long heat segment, but Kerry would always do something. So you knew he was still in it. So it wasn't just 8 minutes. I mean, I don't think the match went 8 minutes. So, but it wasn't just 5 minutes of Gordy just nonstop heat. It was something to get the crowd to pop every so often. Kerry does his comeback. He slaps on the claw. Hayes gets in the ring to break it up. Kevin had attempted to stop him, but our incompetent lead referee, David Manning, prevented him for some reason in this no disqualification match. And then somehow, with the help of Hayes on the apron, Gordy pinned Kerry for the win. And then I had to watch the replay to find out that when Hayes was on the apron, Kerry went after him, and Gordy hit a running knee from behind. So Gordy is
Gordy.
Mm-hmm.
Gordy jumped up and kneed Kerry in the back of the head. Like Kerry might have been shoot knocked loopy.
That might explain the weirdness of the finish. Like Kerry's done, like I haven't read the results, but I'm imagining Kerry and Brody are winning the tag team titles at the Greatest International Star Wars. Kerry's done a lot of jobs lately.
These two were perfect together. Like Kerry looks like the best wrestler in the world when he's got somebody who really bumps and sells for him. And Terry Gordy is great. So this match was good. The crowd was hot. The hot streak continues.
Indeed. And since we avoided playing anything the entire episode, even though the first half of the show went an hour and 20 minutes, and we're currently on 20 minutes for World Class. Let's play the finishing promo, the Freebirds cut a promo with Bill Mercer talking about a match that happened yesterday.
Interesting night for the Freebirds. Well, you maintain the Brass Knux Championship, didn't you?
Interesting. It's the same as always. Here we are in the visiting foreground, such as Texas. We still own the World Championship 6-man. We're still the American Tag Champions. He's still the Brass Knux Champions from knocking out Kerry Von Erich. And the next time you see Iceman, thanks to Buddy, he's going to be bald. You know what I have to wonder? What would happen if they had to wrestle us in the Omni in Atlanta? Or what about the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis? What if they wrestled us in Dixie, huh? We're beating your brains out right here in your home.
Now, one thing, though, that is interesting in this, there was a little bit of interference on your part.
Kerry Von Erich. I was just about to say that. No, you saw the referee. I didn't step in. He pulled me up. If he'd have kept his mind on the man that was beating him, he might have had a better chance. Ain't that right?
There's no doubt about that. He shouldn't be sticking his nose where it don't belong. Mercer, into my business. Nobody sticks their nose into the Big Daddy's business. You know what I'm talking about? And especially, no, don't break away. I'm talking right now. I'm talking about them Von Erichs. They don't stick their nose in the Freebirds business, if you know what I'm talking about.
I've got you two right here. Let's talk about the International Star Wars. The American Tag Team Championships on the line. But you've got Kerry Von Erich and Bruiser Brody. Now, I know you were upset about that.
About Brody, man. I do not understand why he's selling out.
Selling out? What do you mean?
He's selling out on us, man. He ain't got no business sticking his nose in there.
Well, maybe he's a friend of Kerry.
Bad. He'd come against him, brother, because he'll keep Brody out of my way, and we know what I can do to Kerry one-on-one. And as far as Iceman, he's going to be bald.
Let's talk about this cream now. You or he are going to lose your hair.
Hey, he.
Cream, right? No shaving.
No, this stuff, once it is applied to the hair, it comes off very, very quickly. Right here, we showed 2 weeks ago how fast the hair is still off. Iceman's hair is coming off. He's been sticking his nose into Freebird's business too long. And I want to say, I am proud, and my partners are proud to be world-class wrestlers of world-class championship wrestling, going worldwide and being the world 6-man tag team champions. There's nothing else I can possibly say.
He gave it a good try. He gave it they're great wrestlers. They're just not as good as us, because you're looking at the world champions all across the world.
Well, thank you, Michael. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, buddy.
That was an A promo. I'll give it the plus. That was an A+ promo. That is the perfect, and like, it's hilarious. Hayes is, I don't know if he's still a fucking writer, but he was at least one of the writers for WWE for well over a decade. And,
oh yeah,
you know, despite that, did he ever, you know, script a promo that, you know, got over both sides and everybody involved as well as this did? And this not scripted, of course, but it's like everybody did their fucking spot. It, Gordy fucking threatening Mercer when Mercer tried to cut him off. It's like, oh no, I won't do that, Terry. And, you know, Brody, or he gets to talk about Hayes, and like, oh my god, I talked about how I wish they would have kept the Brody surprise until the day of the show. I wish they would have announced it right away, because these fucking Hayes promos building up this Brody match are fucking amazing. I'm fucking loving
like just conveying the fear. Like the promo last week was so good. The Freebirds continue to be like the best thing going on either of these shows.
Oh yeah. They're the best thing going in 2024 right now. And then it's like, at the end, they're bitter rivals, the Von Erichs, the people they have a blood feud with. They put them over as great wrestlers because it gives them credibility, because they would, like, the fans would know that they were fucking lying if they tried to say something else. They put them over as great wrestlers, but they're better. Because not only...
Exactly.
Yeah. And it makes the whole feud better, because if he talked about how much the Von Erich sucked, you'd wonder, well, why the fuck are you feuding with them then? And why are they beating you half the time? Because if they suck and they're beating you half the time, then you must really suck. But no, they're great wrestlers. They're outstanding wrestlers. But we're better than them. And it's like, fuck yeah. That promo did more to make me want to buy a ticket to the greatest international Star Wars yesterday then 2 months of Flair versus Kevin, where they had nothing from Flair outside of that one promo of the original match from 2 months ago.
Yeah.
By the way, the match
Revert to
again doesn't even
Kerry.
happen.
Yeah. But the Kerry and Gordy, the Kerry and Bruiser Brody against Gordy and Hayes match, that happens.
Oh yeah, and like I said, like I can't imagine any other finish other than the baby faces winning, because and here's a spoiler alert for you. I don't 100% know that it happens at this show, but at some point I know Kerry and Brody win the belts, and then Brody never shows up again on TV for like a year, and then they just announce off camera they lost the belts or they vacated the belts or some shit. Because like, yeah, the tag team titles are just going to go into a state of abeyance to steal a WWE phrase from 10 years ago. And
Abeyance.
I honestly like. You know how long it took me to realize that's what they were saying? I thought they were saying advance, ADVANC. They're like, it's being held in advance of Battleground. I'm like, okay, that, it's being held up in advance of the show. But no, abeyance. It's like the WWE dictionary teaching you words you've never heard of before, because I'm not ashamed to admit I was 30 years old. I'd never fucking heard that word in my life.
I hate those fucking Vinceisms so much.
So in this very ring next week. Oh, by the way, to bring the show full circle to talk about what we talked about first in the show, we're not talking about Bill Maskers next week, unless he's on the Greatest International Star Wars. Because next week we're talking about the Greatest International Star Wars, and the week after we're doing 2 Mid South shows.
Fun. I'm excited.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, Trae, but we're not going to be talking about Bill Maskers next week.
Darn.
I can feel how sad you are. And by the way, I guess I need to go see how long last week's show really went. But we are, I believe, we're officially the longest show we've ever gone.
How does this keep happening? We've said nothing.
We talked about George Weingroff's penis.
This is stupid. Why are you listening to this? Why is anyone listening to this?
Well, if you look at the view count, they really don't. But
Yeah, that makes me feel better.
If you're listening to this, why?
Are you okay?
We did try this strategy a few weeks ago on the Smoky Mountain show, and it's possible that people didn't listen because we told them to turn it off in the first minute of the show.
Yeah, just turn it up. We're just doing this for our own amusement now.
By the way, that show 2 weeks ago, the Smoky Mountain Rewatch Along Project number 58, went 1 hour, 47 minutes, and 29 seconds. And we're pretty much straddling that right now. Oh, there we go. So we're officially at 148 at least. So, okay. Officially, longest show ever. And actually, it may not be. So we're at the 100th show next week. We're at the 100th show. And I get, talking about this, is going to bring it down a little bit. But one of the first shows we did on this show was one of my closest friends had passed away like a month after we started doing it. And so we did like a 2-hour tribute show that was really for nobody listening because, it, like, honestly, nobody listening knew who the fuck our friend is. But it was like me, my former co-host, and a whole bunch of our friends came on and just spent 2 hours talking and crying. And so in the spirit of that, to keep that record alive, I say we end the show before we reach it.
We're not going to continue to straddle George Weingroff's lengthy penis.
Oh, no, I'm sure George Weingroff will be around for a while, so we can, fully appreciate the man's fully erect penis.
Here's the thing, though. We know it's lengthy, obviously. It goes without saying.
Obviously. You don't wear spandex in the 80s if you don't have a giant penis.
What does it taste like?
George Weingroff, if you're listening, please let us know what your penis tastes like. George Weingroff's wife, you might have a better idea of this. And I like that putting down my shade ended up making a noise that screeched through the podcast universe. Um,
I'm gonna be. I'd be so upset if I ever found out that George Weingroff was listening to this.
oh my God. So
He
what I
he
meant to
deserves better than that.
Oh, definitely. What I meant to bring up during the cease and desist talk, and then we got cut off and talked about something else. In the early days of the Mid South show, so January 1982, I forget who the jobber was, but there was some jobber that Bill kept booking because he bared a passing resemblance to this man that he called the Welcher Katsaboulis from Jackson, Mississippi. And every week for a month, he would book this jobber in a match so he could go on and on about the Welcher Katsaboulis until one day, literally after a month straight of this, he comes on and says that there were two people in Jackson, Mississippi named Katsaboulis, and one of them was a fine, upstanding person who would never be a Welcher. And he wanted to apologize to that Katsaboulis for ever implying anything. And then, shockingly, he never talked about either Katsaboulis ever again, which of course was complete and total bullshit, because in reality, he got a cease and desist letter
From the other Katsaboulius.
from the actual Katsaboulis. I was like, it's just so weird because, like, we talk about, and he hasn't done it in a while, sadly, but Bill Watts just randomly going off on tirades and tangents that have nothing to do with anything. And that was just one of the great ones. And he just randomly rant about this man, Katsaboulis from Jackson, Mississippi, and calling him the Welcher. I gotta find that so we could play it on the show sometime.
Did you know that George Weingroff did some All Japan tours in '87?
Did Keiji Muto suck his dick?
Keiji Muto was New Japan. Plus, I think he
Oh
was
yeah,
on Excursion at
you
the
said
time.
you said all Japan.
Yeah.
Did
He
Misawa suck his dick?
he had a singles match with Toshiaki Kawada. Now, if you want to ask Toshiaki Kawada what George Weingroff's dick tastes like, he wrestled Tiger Mask, which was Misawa, wrestled John Tenta a couple of times, wrestled the Great Kabuki, wrestled Genichiro Tenryu.
Kawada-san, what does Weingroff dick taste like? All right.
If I ever met Stan Hansen and I can only ask him one question,
Oh, please tell me
honestly,
you would ask him what George Weingroff's dick tasted like.
I don't. I know he's old, but like I still think he'd beat the shit out of me if I said that.
Yes, bring me along so I could film it.
I want to know, and the more I think about it, like I can't think of anyone other than Stan Hansen who could answer the question because it's so specific.
What did Vader's dick taste like?
It's what did Vader's eyeball taste like? Oh, how legendary would that have been if we just plucked the motherfucker's eye out and ate it?
I
No,
think it wouldn't have been Hanson inducting him into the Hall of Fame.
so who do you think chopped harder? Wahoo McDaniel or Kenta Kobashi?
Probably Kabashi.
See, I really wonder.
That's what you'd ask Hanson?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, knowing me, my dumbass would ask him about wrestling Jumbo Tsuruta again.
So if Hanson comes to WrestleCon next year in Las Vegas, you're coming to WrestleMania, right?
Might have to.
Exactly. All right. So we're at an hour and 55 minutes. I think that's more than enough time to wish everybody a fond adieu. Trey, do you have anything to say before we finish?
No.
All right. Well, for Trey, I'm Arya. For Arya, that's Trey. We'll talk about George Weingroff's penis another day. Thank you for listening, and have a good rest of your week.
Bye.